Okay, I think we are live.
Yes, we are live. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, depending of where in the world you're watching. I'm not going to take too much of David's time. So I'm just going to do a very quick introduction for him and then let him proceed with his presentation and share his slides. I just would like to remind everyone that the sessions today are live. So if you do have any questions, do pop them in the comment section. And at the end, if we have a couple of minutes left, we're going to do a live Q&A in which he can David can answer some of your questions during his session, and these sessions are all going to be also recorded. So if you have any questions, so you were able to get a little bit after in the session, you can always watch it fully later on. So not to take too much of David's time, so for those that don't know, he is a test automation manager and quality assurance leader. He's the organizer and originator of the first regular Ukrainian QA meetup. And today's topic for today is going to be when startups meets quality. So without taking too much of your time, David, I'm going to pass this over to you now.
Thanks a lot. Hello guys, and welcome from sunny Krakow. Finally sunny, I would say. Really nice weather to have a speech and talk to you. So yeah, indeed, I will talk about startup and quality. So what happens when they collide together? Uh, yeah, Andrea shortly introduced me. Uh, I also like that kind of introduction that I'm much into pets, especially cats, and you will have a chance to see that during the presentation, into food, traveling, and coffee. And yeah, I think that's how we can recognize each other. Uh, yeah, but before we start and before we get deeper into the topic, we should answer the question, what the hell is startup? And surely you can find a lot of definitions, uh, and every source can differ. So let me present my own definition. And I see it's a company focused on growth, which is quite obvious. We want to build something quickly and we want to be fast to the market or even first to the market. It's working with technology because, like, you can expect near, like, kebab place nearby is also focused on growth, but it's not necessarily a startup. And the third thing is still searching business model. So we still try to build the monetization part. We start to build how we earn money. Like, simply speaking, how to earn money. And usually it's for choosing between three items. And this is like quite known dilemma or dilemma. Pick two from three. So are we gonna focus on speed, quality, or we gonna focus on price, which means costs? And usually quality is somewhere behind because you have seen, like, it's important to be quick, and it's pretty quite important to be cheap. But Richard Branson, which is like one of the most famous entrepreneur and one of the most actively working person with startups in US and not only, he says, like, we shouldn't really drop the quality because the cheapest way is not always the fastest way. So we cannot, surely we cannot leave the quality to save money, at least not fully. And how to actually do something, how to build that quality culture, how to prepare the company for being close to the quality. And before we start, I have step minus one, which is very, very, very common during my career. So usually it starts like that. Uh, the company realized we have a problem, but we don't know what it is. It's something with quality, probably, but we are not fully sure. So we need someone to fix it. So let's hire someone to manage that. And why that happen? Well, there are multiple factors. So what I have experienced, it can be customer side. So something is really affecting either customers or company brand. So not very good for the company that wants to be intensively and quickly recognized in the market. The second reason is, like, people. So there are many frustrated people. There is low quality in terms of either product or process, and they are getting really pissed off, I would say. The third reason is, yeah, money. So we can count it. We see how much money can be lost because some functionality is not working. And the last one, something that really interests C-level. What can it be? Well, probably everything. So after something happens, we have these three magical words. Let's hire someone. Let's hire someone to fix our problems, to build it well, to show us how to do the right thing in the right way. Basically, how to do good quality. And then you can imagine how it's going. You arrive, you see, okay, it's not the best, and I'm already aware of it's not a job for one person, but rather for 10. But okay, let's start with something. So the second step, which I call step zero, because basically there is not too much action yet, I call it exploring and staffing. So what do I mean by that? I just mentioned that usually you arrive and you are maybe one of two, because yeah, why do we need more testers? We need one person to fix everything. Uh, and you know from experience, it's not working like that. So why do we need more testers? How to encourage the C-level? How to encourage managers that or executives that we need more testers? But we are startups, so why do we need them? Well, what I suggest to do is to show them numbers because you cannot really argue with numbers. You can argue with opinions, with vision, but you cannot really argue with number. And what I really like is the first number of time or the total amount of time you spend on proper activities. So you see how much time you spend on manual testing and meetings and how little time you spend on some creative stuff, improving processes, defining processes, uh, maybe automating them. Because why? Because you have no time. So you are mostly focused on manual testing. The second one is, yeah, again, about money. And it's not that hard to count. If you have some disruption, if you have some failure, you can usually quite easily count it. So was the registration failure? Yeah, you can count it by average number of visitors per day and then multiply it by how many of them bought your subscription if you are talking about some software that you can purchase. Or maybe there is a problem with mobile app. So yeah, I think as soon as you face something like that or you see something like that, you can quite easily count it. Uh, the third thing is a roadmap because, okay, we have numbers, we show how much money we lost, we know how much time we spend on manual testing, but is there any vision? Is there any plan for making it better? So I like to prepare like ideal, like non-ideal roadmap. What do I mean by that? Well, basically, what I would like to do and what I would like to introduce, and what I cannot really do because I don't have enough people to do it. But as the executives see the vision, as soon as they see the plan, that's totally different discussion. And usually, if you have uh, your own vision, it changes a lot. Sometimes it changes everything. And assuming that you are successful with having people with staffing, or maybe you're lucky and you already have people, you can start making the stuff. So, what does it really mean to be a great startup QA agent? That's how I call it. But yeah, basically, you can say how to become a great QA or how to show the company you are a great QA. How to show the startup that you bring the value, because sometimes we are considered as a cost. So how to really show them you are a value for the organization. So the first item I always recognize, and it's not by the not accidentally here, is to be a great leader. And let me explain in a while why leader is here. Um, and we have Richard Branson again here. So Richard says, and that's probably one of my top sentences that from like anyone, that clients do not come first, employees come first. And that's really true because unmotivated people, it's not easy to work with them. But if you take care of your employees, then yeah, you have a people even without skills, but with a lot of willingness to do stuff. And actually, one of the first and most important thing is to help people and protect them. And yeah, usually to do that, you need to be a manager. But is it true? I wouldn't say so because there are so many informal leaders, so many servant leaders helping people, and why not to be one of them? Why not to support them in doing in doing their job? And the second thing is to trust them and give ownership. Like probably you have faced that stuff. You receive the task, it can be pretty large one, and you have no idea how to deliver it. But you are aware of like someone gave you the ownership, someone gave you the trust, and you are really internally motivated to deliver that stuff. And that's important. That's important. If you feel that you are delivering something that has value, that is visible, that is not just a small part of this whole machine, but something that brings the company value. And I think that's important to give people ownership. And usually it's like they don't have to do the whole stuff, but they should coordinate it and let them grow. Because, well, I know some of us likes to uh, sit in a comfortable place without too much risk, without too much challenges, maybe, but we need to grow. We work in IT and we should grow anyway. And actually, the major problem I see is the time because we need some time. We need a time, especially at work, to develop ourselves, to improve skills. And what I like is to always talk to people who can do that, who can delegate the time or who can spread the, uh, the let's say, knowledge about the need of self-development. And how do you solve it? Well, it differ from company to company, but usually, if you give people like 5 or 10% of the total to just work themselves, to just develop themselves, it starts working because you have value from them. They work for you, and you let them grow, so they feel obliged to be simply to be better. Okay, so that's what I mean to be a leader. So you can trigger all those aspects by not being necessarily a manager. And I hope you realize that manager is just a title, but leader is what and how you really act. Okay, and what is the second point? The second point here is being, yeah, if, to be a great QA agent, you need to be a great QA. So you need to have a specific domain knowledge. And how to achieve that, apart from just testing and doing manual stuff and processes? The first thing is to put quality requirements. Usually, it's forcing people. It's encouraging. Sometimes it's just too small because yeah, we know how it works. We don't have time. We cannot really focus too much on requirements connected with quality. But that's you. That's you who is an expert who can explain why should we do that? What is the risk of not doing that? And actually, if it's getting the requirement, if it's not just one-time stuff, then it becomes the new normal. And I think that's important to show and to teach people that yeah, they should do it. And there is much more cost of not doing that instead of spending the time. And what about no ideas? What if you have no real uh, concept, but there are a lot of good implementations on the market. So why not to see how the best companies do it, how they do the stuff, how Google is testing, how Facebook is taking care of quality, how Atlassian is doing that. But you should remember about one thing. Never copy the whole process because there is probably like 90%, maybe more, 90% of chances that it won't fit to your context because every context is different. You have different organization, you have different product, you have different structure. So it's good to use the knowledge. It's good to try, but I would say it's never about copying them all. It's like with copying code from Stack Overflow. There is a slim chance that everything will work, but usually you need to adjust it to your need. And that's how it's working with good practices. And I have seen a lot of situations when people try to copy, for example, Spotify model with guilds and tribes, and surprise, it didn't work. But maybe just doing the uh, vertical connections between domain experts is enough. We don't have to introduce everything. But you, as a QA expert, at first should educate people. And why it's you? Because you are the domain expert. You should show people how to do it and you should educate them. So you should be active, actually proactive to to work with other part of your team or maybe another part of organization. Because why not to show support team that maybe they can improve the quality? Why not to show like product team? I think the only problem is because we are quite close to show people how they should do work, but we are experts. We should do it. And if you want to be considered as a great expert, as a great QA, yeah, you should leave your comfort zone. I know leaving comfort zone is kind of a phrase we are sometimes sick of. But here, yeah, for sure, that's living. Sometimes living, the connections and people you know and you like, and talk to them in a slightly different way. But yeah, that's important. Okay, so what is the third component here? And I call it being a great fast mover. And you will understand what does it mean in a second. So Richard again says that you should not be embarrassed by your failures, but you should learn from them. And I fully agree. I cannot agree more. Just let me add one more thing. Try to not make the same mistake twice because it usually means you have learned nothing. And yeah, we know that if we experiment a lot, it cannot work. But is it really a problem? I don't think so, because without trying, we cannot improve too much. If we only use the stuff we know it will work, that's not the way for continuous improvement. And we work in Agile. I mean, we try to do Agile. Yes, just calling our team Scrum team, we are not necessarily agile. So I think almost everyone do agile. But the question is, are you really agile? Can you adjust to changing requirements, to changing environment? That's usually the problem because like following the guide that has, I think Scrum guide has now 17 pages. And if I follow all of the rules written there, doesn't mean I'm really agile. Usually, it's not like that. So try to not be bounded to the documentation, to the rules, but try to do the stuff that is really agile. So try to adjust. And yeah, the first, and I promise the last sentence from me. So I do agile and I work in a different way every week. And I know it's a little bit too much to change the style of work every week, but if we change at least a small thing every week. Are we already agile? If we are toward continuous improvement, I would definitely say yes. Okay, so that's fast mover. And the last thing is influencer. But let me get back for a second to the point with fast mover. Because I have mentioned about Richard Branson and making mistakes. And I want to encourage you one more time to make mistakes. Because is there any cost? Yes, of course. But what if we learn from that quickly and then after like few days maybe we can say, okay, it will not work. I know it's not the right solution. So the first thing, the regret of making the mistake and of leaving the stuff that do not work is much lower. So we all know the story of obsolete code that just stay and stay forever, and nobody wants to change anything because it's working already, or even worse, it's your own code. So you feel pretty close to what you have written, and then the longer you add the pieces, the less you want to change anything. And actually, if you would realize early enough or explore early enough to say, okay, now I see that's not the way, I should change it. So I think that's how it should work. Because without exploring, we cannot really improve. And without improving, what are you actually doing? We are just probably uh, still following the same rules and performing repetitive stuff. Okay, but moving forward and entering the fourth item here, being a great QA item is being a great influencer, and that's pretty modern one. I think it's quite on time. Being an influencer, being a trendsetter. Uh, when you check, and I did it like a couple days ago, when you put influencer synonyms in Google, you can get influencer, trendsetter, but actually you can get a synonym, which is YouTuber, TikToker, Facebooker. So yeah, I can say it's pretty modern. But uh, what do I mean here? Should I record movies and have like a million subscribers? Um, Not necessarily. So what do I mean by influencing people? So actually, what I'm doing now, I'm influencing you to try new stuff, to improve, to explore new stuff. So you need to become really. What do I mean? Not everyone likes it. Not everyone likes public presentations, but you should advocate your ideas. So who else than you? You are an expert. You know the domain probably the best, much better than developers and product people. So when it comes to quality, it should be you. Because if you won't say, probably nobody will say, and you will try to do the same stuff over and over again. And something I see very often, and at some point I realized, okay, I do the same. So we are trying to be super nice to everyone else, especially if we have close team, if we have a lot of beer together. And now it's harder because of COVID, but you know what I mean. Then we try to be super nice to each other, but let's distinguish it. There is a professional life and there is a private life. So we can have a good beer, we can have a nice party or nice lunch with our colleagues. But does it mean I should be all the time super kind to them? Not necessarily. The best discussions I had with the people at my team, and it was very, very intense, arguing, sometimes maybe even shouting. I wouldn't call it really nice. And looking from the outside, maybe it really looks like aggressive discussion or whatever. But is it a problem? I wouldn't say so because after that, we could go drink a beer and discuss about another stuff. So that's super important. You should know that if you try to be super nice, usually you will not push your ideas because, yeah, sometimes being super kind is not the right stuff. I'm not trying to encourage you to be rude, but to be more. I'm trying to find the proper word, but I think what's those four words below are the proper description. So you need to sometimes for people or remind them or bring them or push them that, hey, we should do new stuff or we should do that because it was implemented. What could be the example? Maybe definition of done that is never delivered. Maybe definition of that ready that was not met. And yeah, there is always a way that, yeah, definition of done was this part with quality. We can skip it that time. But if you allow it, that's probably the new normality. That's probably the new normal very soon. So for sure, you should be the one who's who's apart from a great QA specialist. You should be the one who's advocating those ideas. And of course, be proactive. And I think that's one of that's the skill of the future to be proactive, especially in COVID time and remote work time, because you can see it and you can just send an email, receive an email, send a message in Slack, receive a message in Slack. That's okay, but it's slow and it's not really proactive approach. So I think for not only for QAs but especially for QAs, being proactive is one of the skills you should focus on. And it's like with every other skill. If you have a problem with like advocating ideas, being proactive to other, uh, there is a lot of possibilities to train it. And I wouldn't say it's much easier than technical stuff, but it's also doable. So very long time ago, I tried both to do in parallel. So kind of soft skills, how to advocate ideas, how to encourage people to try new stuff. And at the same time, I tried to learn Python. And you know what? From my perspective, learning Python was much easier. Uh, and one tip from my side, if you have an idea and you know it can work or there is a high chance of successful, uh, then you can say, okay, you don't want to agree, but let's do it that way. If you have any better idea, just let me know. But until you don't, until we have the situation like that, and I have an idea, you don't really know, let's try my. And from my experience, usual people will never come to you because finding the good idea is not easy process. And eventually they will try it. And the last thing, fake it till you make it. And I know again it's American sentence, but I think it's important. And I made it multiple times. So you learn something, you try to improve something, as long as you know, okay, I have an experience in that. I have the knowledge how to try the new stuff. So let's do it. And what we can actually fake? I think quite a lot. Maybe we can improve the quality by performing exploratory sessions and not only performing, but engaging people outside QA and even outside engineering. Maybe we have a problem as a team with task estimation. Okay, so let me learn how to estimate. And in a couple of weeks, I will get back and try to show you how we can approach it better. Maybe it's improvement in terms of bugs reporting, or maybe risk mitigation, which is, by the way, risk mitigation is one of my favorite aspects. So if you have never tried risk mitigation or risk-based testing, try it. Or maybe behavior-driven development in product. I know there are haters and lovers, but if it's done in the right way, uh, I think people will be pretty okay with at least trying that. So What did I learn today, or what did you learn today? Well, actually, just remember about those four aspects. So, being a great QA is being a great leader. You don't have to put manager in front of your title. You can be a leader, informal leader, and that's very, very important skill. Then you should be simply a great QA. Like that's that seems obvious. If you want to be a great QA agent, you need to have a domain expertise. Then being a great fast mover. So be agile. Don't just do agile. Be open for failures and open for experimenting. And the last thing, try to be an influencer. So try to advocate your ideas, try to encourage people, uh, try to show them how to do stuff and be proactive. And the most important slide from today. So you have seen a lot of them. Maybe some of those concepts are now in your head, maybe not, maybe just one of them. And my advice for you is just do it. Screw it, let's do it. And actually, that's the title of Richard Branson's book. If you can check that, that's pretty nice book. But if you have something in your head after the presentation, don't hesitate to try. Without trying, you will never know. And yeah, that's my dream team that was very, very close during the presentation, helping me to encourage you even more and focus more on the content. So thanks to them. Python actually is an abbreviation from Python, and that clearly shows that I'm much into Python when it comes to technical aspect. But that's just a fun fact about me. And thanks a lot. If you have any questions, you can ask them now, or you can reach me at any time and any point via LinkedIn or Twitter. Thanks. I think, Andrea, you are muted.
Can you hear me better now?
It's perfect.
Perfect. I was saying thank you so much for that, David. Such an interesting presentation. And if anyone would like to have some questions asked from the presentation, more than welcome to put them now in the comment section and we will take a look at those. Actually, we have a question over here from one of the Facebook groups. It says, what is the biggest difference in working as a QA agent in a startup than working as a QA agent at a normal company?
I think that's pace, because usually when you scale up, you have totally different challenges than in at least at some level major company. So I would say is a pace and thinking upfront how to successfully manage quality while you're scaling up. And that's like even for now, the company doubled size by three in a year,
Mm.
and in 2 years from two QAs there were like 18. I think that's something you should be aware of. So you should definitely plan a lot upfront.
And they also did a follow-up question. It says, What are the biggest challenges?"
The biggest challenges, I think that's a lack of resources and
Mm.
much focus on MVP, on POC. Okay, I know abbreviations are sometimes tricky, so it's minimal valuable product or proof of concepts, or maybe we try to deliver something not necessarily as a product, but just to show during the venue or to show to our investors. I think the biggest challenge is very, very rapid and frequent. It's called pivots. So you change the direction very, very often. And you should adjust to, okay, now I leave this framework for automation I have created because it has no value anymore. And that's quite frequent. So uh, definitely those soft skills about experimenting, leaving the stuff behind if it's not working anymore or it has no value anymore. That's very, very important. So soft skills are super important as well.
Thank you for that. So I can see we don't have any more questions at the moment, but as you were mentioning, I'm going to put your slides in the screen just a little bit more where people can find also your socials and they can also contact you if they have any more questions or if they're watching this as a recording later on. So in that way they can contact you as well. Or of course, you can always leave us a comment in this area and we're going to come back to you after there as well. Thank you once again, David, for your presentation. Such an interesting topic. Everyone, just stay tuned. We do have more presentations for today, and we look forward to seeing you all. And thank you so much, David, once again, and have a good
Thank
day
you.
as well.
It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure. Take care. Bye.
Bye.